College football fans, are you in good hands? Because with insurance from Allstate, you'll have a winning game plan like reliable coverage and protection for everything life throws at you. Because just like how great protection can save a football game, it can also save you money. So get protected with Allstate. Visit allstate.com or call a local agent today to learn more. Brought to you by Allstate. You're in good hands. On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, we give you what we're watching for and preview OU Texas with Fozzy Whittaker. We also preview some of the other great games of Week 6 in college football, and we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast. Rate it 5 stars and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's OU Texas weekend, baby. Let's go. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, October 4th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman. And Ted, it is 9:43 a.m., and Texas still sucks. Let's go. It's almost here.
Oh, man, it's on us, isn't it? And this feels like the biggest one we've had in a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no doubt. And I love how big it feels. This is how this game is supposed to feel. All is right in the world.
I agree.
When this game feels this way, right? God intended this game to feel this big. I love it. Now, please leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment while you're at it. Ted, let's jump right into it. We got a lot to get to, man. We can't waste any time here.
Yeah.
What are you watching for from OU's defense against Texas's offense?
Yeah. Number one, their offense is really good. Really at every level. Great group of skill guys, wide receivers. They've got size there. They've got quickness, great talent. Obviously, we know they've got the, athlete, whatever you want to call, at tight end, Ja'Tavion Sanders. We'll see what his role in the football game is going to be. I would imagine if he goes, he's not going to be himself. That's going to be tough for them because that takes out a huge part of what they do. And one of the great things about this offense is their screen game. And you don't see a whole lot of teams run screens the way they do. And a lot of them are tight end screens. And not that they won't have that option. It's just not going to be nearly as dangerous of a play. And they use that tight end screen as a counter to a lot of the things that they do, right? And it's all designed really well. So that's going to be a big factor to see what he does. The running game, good backs, good offensive line. You're not going to see a ton of stuff. They'll run some split zone. They'll run some of those dive plays, those quick hitters. It's not really inside zone. It's more of just
it's what our offense runs.
Yeah.
Right now, I think Levy calls it tight zone, but really what it is on the front side, you're taking inside footwork. On the back side, you're trying to just cave the hell out of it. Yep. And then the back cuts off the cave.
Now, you'll get some not exotic stuff, but just some different stuff visually for backers. Like, I don't know what you want to call it. Influence, wham. I don't know. It's almost like cross blocking up front, and they do that with the tight end, Ja'Tavion Sanders, to give him some better angles on some stuff. And, it fits really weird, but that's something that they're going to have to keep their eyes open to. And then they do this, kind of pin pull type of stuff down and around. They'll get the guard in the center around, or the tackle around, and trying to attack the perimeter. Now, go back, if you remember in the review from Iowa State, I was talking about some of the pin pull stuff we saw from Iowa State and the crack toss, or the crack replace from our corners. It was a problem in the Iowa State game that, we just gave up some yards, and the safeties, it didn't always cost us on all the plays, but the safeties and the corners dealing with the crack replace stuff was not good. I imagine Texas is going to try and hit us on that. They'll probably, also have some pass plays where it looks like that's what they're creating, and then they run either boot or, something off of that. So the design of the offense is really good. You'll get some like wildcat stuff and short yardage, but the most dangerous part of the offense, in my opinion, because the rushing game has not been great. The Kansas statistics skew massively what the Texas running game has been. It has not been great up to this point. The real strength of their offense is in the passing game. Now, a lot of the pass stuff that you're going to get, they love all kinds of combinations of under and over. Sometimes it's an under with a dig way on the outside. Sometimes it's under and over at the same time. They love to work the inner third of the field, and they get to it a bunch of different ways. And that's one of the things that you'll notice is how good Sark is. I was talking to Coach Venables about it on Monday night, and Iowa State, you see a bunch of shift and motion, and we see it from a bunch of people, but most people, it's like it's a way we start the play just to, window dress some things. Sark is way more deliberate, and there's a reason each shift in motion is happening. Like they're creating space on the field, and they're really trying to create different matchups whenever they do it. It's not just a go out there and go through the motions like a swinging gate for a field goal. And that's what you get with a lot of people. So you've got to really keep your eyes open to that. But the hook players, again, the over-under stuff, they're going to work those hook players. And to me, that's going to be because it could be safety that's dropping down and playing the hook in cover 3. It can be your inside backers. But those players are going to have to turn and find those over routes, or they can just pick you apart. Quinn Ewers he's having it's a really interesting season for him. He's accurate. He's made good decisions. He's been smart with the football, and he's been able to use his legs and do it effectively. Here's the weird thing to me. I feel like almost anyone can do the stuff that he's done. And I try not to be biased whenever I watch it. And I try to just look at this thing objectively and take what I see, but I think he's average. I think the offense creates a bunch of really good opportunities for him, and he's good at those, but I don't think he has elite arm talent. I don't think he has elite athleticism. I think and it's evident to me, where do you get exposed as a quarterback? You get exposed in the red zone. When you get to the red zone, everything becomes tighter. Everything's more condensed. The guys don't look as open. And the quarterback has to be way more accurate and way quicker with his reads. And Texas they're not a good red zone team. One of the biggest struggles that they've had so far this year is finishing drives. And I think it shows the limitations of Quinn Ewers to some degree. I feel like if we heat him up and get him under pressure, especially early, that really affects the way he plays the rest of the game. Whenever he's not comfortable in the pocket and he's not 100% sure what he's seeing on the back end, he becomes shaky really quickly. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us defensively. I look at one play in particular. Whenever I think about it, it was a red zone snap against Kansas, and they're running an RPO look off of it. When Quinn Ewers does his play fake, he's got a little bit of pressure coming off the edge at him, we're in the red zone, so the RPO coverage is tighter. And he turns his back and shoulder and just flips the ball. And it should have been intercepted by Kansas. I don't know. The defensive back, I think, was shocked by what happened, but I think it's like a lot of those plays are really hidden in what all you see from them and the numbers and everything. But I think we have a massive, maybe not massive, a large quarterback advantage in this football game when I compare Dylan Gabriel to Quinn Ewers.
I think large maybe is a little much, but I think Dylan Gabriel has played better football than Ewers this season. People just haven't seen Dylan Gabriel play as much as they've seen Ewers, and obviously Ewers was really good against Bama. And when you play like that on that stage with all the eyeballs that were on that game, like that's what people are going to think of you. But I'm with you. There is nothing like when you watch the tape, there's nothing, I don't know, breathtaking about what he's doing. Now, he's been solid, right? He's hitting these guys, but they are most of his stuff, the guys are, I mean, they're schemed wide open.
That's what I'm saying. I don't see him making something of nothing. That just almost never happens in their offense. It's either there and he makes the throw, or he pulls it down and scrambles, or takes a sack. I don't know. It's just, I mean, and I think that's actually I think it's a compliment to how good Sarkisian's offense is designed, where a guy doesn't have to do like anything extraordinary, and it's a well-oiled machine. It spews points and yards.
What else you got?
What
do you think of the O-line?
I think they're good. I think they seem to be really strong. I think they're better in pass protection. I see, often as I watch offensive line, whenever I see guys that I think maybe are struggling, there's a lot of lunging at people. It seems like this offensive line is confident, knows where they're going, and they play under control. And whenever you have offensive linemen that are playing under control, it can be difficult to get to the quarterback. Like, as a rusher, you like to use your opponent's aggression against them. That's kind of how you counter and get them out of position. And it feels like they're very measured and under control quite a bit. I defer to you to see what you think of them.
I think Kyle Flood's a really, really good coach.
Yeah.
Right. You can just see it in the technique that they utilize. I do think if you're looking for a weakness in pass protection, it's at guard. Right. Hayden
guard.
Connor, the left guard, DJ Campbell, the right guard. I don't think those guys redirect particularly well. Mm-hmm. I look for a guy like Jonah Laulu. Right. I think he can win against both of those guys with his length and his quickness. And then, man, I'm not going to lie. I have not been overly impressed with what I've seen from Kelvin Banks at left tackle. Kansas kind of got after him. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned like lunging. One of the things I look at in an offensive lineman, especially when people are talking about a guy like the way that people talk about Kelvin Banks, it's like, are you in a dominant finishing position when the ball's gone? And a lot of the time, like, he's off balance, he's falling. It did not look the way I expected it to look with the type of praise he receives. Like, Kelvin Banks is not the best offensive tackle in this game. Tyler Guyton is. Just watch the tape. Just watch the tape. It's the truth. But he bends really well. When he gets you, man. But he's just off balance quite a bit. I don't know. It's strange. It's not what I was expecting to see from him on tape.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some stuff with him in the running game where
Kansas just kept knocking his hands down and he would just fall.
Yeah, it's kind of, it almost looks like some laziness, right?
It was strange to watch. I did not,
Yeah.
that's as bad as I've seen him play. Right. But it is, yeah, it's interesting.
Overall, I think we match up really well with them.
That's what I came away with right now. Worthy and Mitchell and Sanders being hurt is huge. Even if he plays, he's not going to be the same guy, right?
Right. I wouldn't think.
The skill guys terrify me. They got dudes. I mean, they absolutely got dudes. But the battle in the trenches, with what we've seen from OU's defense, the number of bodies that we've been able to rotate, I'm going to be really disappointed if Texas just blows them off the football.
Yeah.
Really disappointed.
I just don't see that happening. And I'm telling you, Coach Venables they're going to have a really good game plan. And I think they're going to heat Quinn Ewers up and do it from a bunch of different places. And you don't have to sack him necessarily. You just have to make him uncomfortable. And if they get to him early, they make him uncomfortable early, he will deteriorate as the game goes on. I'm just telling you right now, in a bad way. He starts looking at the rush. He starts like throwing the football like this as he's falling away. The early battle is when we pressure him, we've got to get him, sack him, or force an errant throw. We can't sell out in the rush. And what often happens is there's a lane and the quarterback steps through it and can run. I think if he is able to feel the pressure, step through it, and go get some positive yardage, it's going to keep his confidence level high, and he'll be looking to do that, and that's dangerous. But if we can not allow that to happen and hit him, make him feel us, get a sack, force some ugly throws under pressure, I think he's going to deteriorate because I don't think he has the skill level, the athleticism, or the arm to really be elite under pressure. Maybe it's there and I haven't seen it yet, but I see him do the routine things good. The off routine things, like the long touchdown against Kansas. It's a great play. Statistically, it looks awesome, but every quarterback in the Big 12 could have made that run for a touchdown, right? That's just kind of where I see him. And maybe this is the game where he shows up and shows that he's got the extra gear and he can kind of separate himself. But to me, I'm worried about a bunch of things about Texas. And quarterback just doesn't happen to be one of them. Could be famous last words.
Yeah.
But their skill guys, their wide receivers are great. They're Jatavian Sanders, their backs are physical and aggressive. Their defense is, as we're about to get to, is really solid all the way around. I'm worried about a lot of things. Whenever you go play Caleb Williams, you're thinking about something completely different. You go play like a Bo Nix or one like those type of guys. They make incredible individual effort plays where they just go out and it's like, what we did everything we were supposed to do on that play and they still made us pay. I just haven't seen stuff like that from Quinn Ewers.
I think that's fair. Anything else? OU's defense, Texas's offense.
I think that's it.
All right. Let's talk about things we're watching for from OU's offense versus Texas's defense. First of all, the structure. A lot of versatility in their looks. Ted, 4-man front. They can get to odd spacing. They can get to even spacing. They've jumped into quite a bit of bear front. Now, for those of you out there, they're like, what's bear front? That's center, guard, tackle, all covered. Okay. And if you get into 12 personnel, you're going to see some bear. You're also going to see a bit of a traditional like 3-4 look, right? Those three techniques go to 4 eyes, right? And you're like, oh my God, it's 3-4 defense. What's going on here? But lots of fronts, Lots of guys play. They're going to move 95 Alfred Collins and 45 Vernon Broughton. Those guys can be interior guys. Those guys can play defensive end. So they do. It's very similar to what you see from Oklahoma, Ted. And they've got a lot of fronts. They do a lot of different things, and you just got to know where guys are at, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I I don't know, and I'm sure you'll get to it, but I think the strength of that defense is how that interior's played.
Yeah.
They're really strong. They've played well.
Let's start here. If OU's offensive line doesn't play at a high level, OU's going to lose. Bottom line. Especially in the interior. Texas' defensive line is by far the best that they've seen as a collective group. Big, physical, athletic, play a lot of guys, so guys are fresh throughout the game. You have to be ready. You have to know what you're signing up for, and you're signing up for a 4-quarter fight. I really wish I could come on here and say these Texas guys are soft. It's a country club, all that stuff that we used to say about them. It ain't true anymore. Physical, discipline, good defensive line. So that's where it's at. So I'll start with some run game thoughts. Interested to see, and it's interesting to talk about coverage in the run game, but will Texas be able to sit in a 2 high safety defense and play the run effectively? If they do, that's a problem.
Long
big
day.
problem. It's going to be a long day offensively. So if Texas is going to play cover 2, cover 4, different variations of that, quarter, half, whatever you want to call it, like it's absolutely paramount that they run it efficiently. Right now, this is not I'm not expecting OU's run game all of a sudden to rip off 40 and 50-yard runs. We just haven't seen that, and this is the best defense they've played against. But you have to give them a reason to get out of that 2 high shell, right? Because if you don't, that's a big problem. I do think OU can run the football on them. Wyoming did, so why not? And now Wyoming did it out of 12 and 13 personnel, and this is one of those games where the lack of depth in the tight end room really hurts OU because you get a favorable personnel grouping if you go with big personnel, and OU just doesn't have the guys for that. But what Wyoming did a really good job of was staying on their double teams and their zone concepts. I mean, staying on, because Texas's inside backers, 33 and 41, Benda and Ford, who are both really good players, they play very lateral in the run game. And you can tell it's the way they're coached. I think my guess is it has a lot to do with how prevalent RPOs are in college football. So they play lateral. They are not a spike it downhill duo at inside backer. So knowing that, you can stay on your double teams account longer, and you absolutely have to, because 93 is hard as hell to move, man. T'Vondre Sweat, at that size, his level of athleticism, I mean, he's fantastic. 90, Byron Murphy, he isn't easy to move with the double team. He's really good with the drop knee technique to fight those double teams. But I've seen him get moved a little bit. 95, Alfred Collins is the guy I think you can move. He gets a little high. He's a taller guy when he's playing in the interior. He gets a little high with his pad level. I've seen him moved off the football. Wyoming moved him off the football. But you have to have success on the double teams, whether that's your zone game. I think you'll see some gap scheme stuff from Oklahoma. And then running backs have to make guys miss. And number 11, Jalen Catalon, is going to fly into the run fit like a damn heat-seeking missile. A heat-seeking missile of destruction. You have to make that guy miss a few times and make him throttle down a little bit. Also, Tawi Walker and him are going to have the biggest collision known to mankind in this game. I just book it. It's going to happen.
unstoppable force meets immovable object.
It's going to be the biggest collision ever. I can't wait.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, you're going to play with tempo, right? And that's what OU does. That's what Levy does. And I certainly think it can be a weapon. Like if you can get drives going and you can keep Tavondre Sweat out there, that's a big dude, man. 360 pounds. It's really hard for a guy that size to play 7 plays in a row. But I do think there will be some advantages to slowing down at some points. And here's why. When you're game planning, right, you think, okay, what schemes work well against their schemes? But you also have to think about matchups. And I'm talking about the offensive line in the run game. You got to think about matchups. You need to do what you have to do to get double teams on the guys you can move at the point of attack to create space in the running game. And a lot of people call them alert runs, right? Hey, we're going to run counter at the 3 technique, right? So we can get a good, solid double team and move his ass. Hey, we're going to run zone to the shade so we can stretch him and we can get a backside double team on the backside of it and cave that, right? And ride that wave on the backside like OU wants to. At some point, they've got to slow down and create those matchups. I hope they do it, at least. But Wyoming rated on them. Now, they had a long, long touchdown run that skewed some of the statistics, and it's just Anthony Hill, the freshman linebacker. By the way, I hope they play him as much as possible at inside backer. That guy is lost.
I agree.
He's
lost.
an incredible athlete.
He's going to be good in a year or two, but right now, when he's in there, you've got to attack that dude.
No doubt. No doubt. But I know that was a lot on the run game, but I don't think this should not be a game, right? If OU's offensive line does what they need to do at the point of attack, if they're patient on their double teams, they play with good pad levels and physicality, there should not be a bunch of 0 and negative yard runs in this game. There just shouldn't. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this is one of those games. I hope that we have success with the bubble stuff on the outside, because I feel like this is a game that, if you can get Sweat out there on the field and then pester him with snaps where all he's doing is chasing the football somewhere, right? Instead of going right at him and letting him get going and feel like he's a big influence on the football game. You let those big guys make some plays early and they feel like they're going to get the stats going. They can be hell on wheels. So I think we frustrate the interior by attacking the edges. But I'm with you. Like even in our, like the traditional stuff that we've seen this year, I think there's some plenty of room to be had in there. I think we can take advantage of the fact that their backers play soft. I mean, we should be able to. It may not be sexy. It may be 3, 4, 5 yards a carry up on the inside. But to me, like if we can do that and get into some good down and distance third downs, keep the chains moving, that's ultimately where we want to be in this game.
Yeah. And also Dylan Gabriel, his legs, and how he can add to the run game, and really how he can add just kind of holding some of those backside defenders, right? Just staring at him, looking like, okay, am I going to pull it? That's going to be part of it as well. But yeah, I think they can run it efficiently. I'm not expecting a bunch of massive chunk runs. We just haven't seen that, but I'll be disappointed if they can't get it going a little bit. Past game thoughts. I kind of think the tackles just have to live on an island in this game. You have to shore up the interior. I think Sweat and Murphy are their best pass rushers in the interior. Alfred Collins, he can get going. He's got some length. It's a difficult matchup for an interior guy, but as much as possible, just let Rouse and Guyton live on an island. Right. I think we have an advantage in pass protection, our offensive tackles versus their defensive ends. 91 Ethan Burke, great effort player. Looks like he's got some long arms, but Baron Sorrell, these guys are good players. They're not premier pass rushers. You have to win those battles in pass protection if you're Rouse and Guyton, and Sweat's an improved pass rusher in the interior. I think Murphy's their best guy. I think he's the toughest matchup, right? I like his quickness. He's violent with his hands. He's got moves. But, and I swear to God, if an offensive lineman for OU gets their hands slapped down on Sweat's stupid little knock down the hands and then club you move, I'm going to lose my mind. Just flash your hands, he'll throw it, and it'll be over. Just do it. But when you watch them, it's not a group that really jumps off the tape as pass rushers, especially the edge guys, Ted.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it can be tough whenever, you're in that true 3-4 look to get to an edge in the passing game. So curious to see I'm sure we'll see a bunch of different fronts, but what they major in. I feel like that's kind of been a really nice strength for us, our offensive line in pass protection. I kind of feel like our best personnel grouping, perhaps even maybe to run the football, is going to be 4 wide stuff.
Yeah.
If we go 4 wide with wide splits from those guys, from those 4 guys, and they've got to really separate their safeties, and we can create some space on the interior and slow down the safeties getting to the core to help in the run game. I think that's going to help a lot. And it also makes it difficult on a defensive coordinator. As good as Dillon Gabriel is with his legs, and you've got 4 really good receivers out there, it can be tough. Like you may end up in a spot where Dillon Gabriel is able to just sit back there without any pressure if we can protect. So yeah, I'm with you.
I think you have to have explosive plays in the passing game, or else you're going to lose. Despite what you think of Quinn Ewers, Ted, Texas is going to have some.
Oh, they will.
Right? Sarkisian's a fantastic play designer, and they got dudes at wide receiver. It's hard to believe that this is the game that OU's run game really kicks it into gear. So this is where I'm at with it. Dillon Gabriel, he's got to be the best player on the field. This is the most important game of his life. It's the biggest stage he's ever played on. He's got to be great. If he's not great, OU's not going to win. Now, some pass game thoughts. I really like Jalen Catalon as a player, as a safety. Dude is a tone setter. He's ultra aggressive. Double move him. Design some things to double move him. And I think that you could probably be able to get him once or twice on something. And if you get him, you got to connect on it. Right? This can't be one where, Farouk's hit him with the slant and go. He's running wide open down the field, and it's off the fingertips. We can't have that. Got to connect on those plays. I think 28, Jaron Thompson, I think he's the least athletic guy back there in that secondary at the safety spot. I know Levy will have stuff to attack him, right, to make him cover. I think safety is their biggest weakness in the passing game. That being said, Ryan Watts, the corner, number 6. The dude is enormous. Looks like a linebacker playing corner. I mean, he's huge. Let's see if he can run with Andrell Anthony a few times. I mean, you just got to try it. I mean, he's enormous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to take those shots, and you got to connect on a lot of them, right? And everyone's got to make plays. Anthony, Farouk, Anderson, Gibson, Stoops, Freeman, all these guys, they got to make plays. You can't drop passes. You can't drop key third downs. That's the thing with me offensively is it's not going to be perfect, but it's got to be as clean as it can be. Because this is a really good defense, and that offense on the other side is an explosive play waiting to happen. So you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself as an offense, but hey, we got to give them the best we got. because
Yeah,
it's by far the best team they played.
I agree. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so happy that Dylan Gabriel played what I think is his best game as a Sooner the week before, because I still like our matchups at wide receiver for him to throw it up and let guys go make plays. They're going to look covered, but push it down the field and let those guys go make some plays like he's done. I feel good about it. This defense is more talented. They're not. So it's interesting. So like last week against Iowa State is a more disciplined, detailed defense. They're not as talented as Texas. Texas has maybe some more individual players that can make really nice plays on you, but I feel like we should be able to take advantage of the good matchups that we do have, and like you said, use some of their aggressiveness against them. Find there are some weaknesses in the defense personnel wise, find those and exploit them. I think we can have a pretty successful day. Now, what does successful look like? It depends what style of football game we play. I personally believe it's going to be a low scoring game. I do. What's the over under is I think 66, something like that. I would take the under, but who knows? It could turn into a track meet. And I guess that's the thing with two evenly matched teams. You're not sure what style of game you're going to get.
Yeah. I think the Sooners have to get to 30 to win. Like 31-28, something kind of like that. But a few more thoughts. Have to be the OU's offensive line. You got to be ready for twists in the Bear front. And Iowa State, they hit OU on a double mug. So two backers standing up in the A gap, right? They got him with the pressure where the backer standing up in the A gap went and picked the left guard. The defensive tackle that was lined up over the left guard then looped and created, so it was the running back one-on-one with the defensive lineman. And neither guy got blocked, right? They were Everett in the running back did not handle it well. I guarantee you Texas is going to make sure that they've got that sorted out. You're going to see that, and I will lose my mind if they don't pass it off correctly. Just point that, that's way in the weeds, but I'm going to lose it if they don't bump it off. You got anything else? I know that was a lot, both sides of the ball.
Well, here's the thing. When you have a game that appears to be really evenly matched, two good offenses are both going to be going up against good defenses. This football game ultimately will be won in special teams. It can be something obvious like a missed or made field goal, but most likely it's going to come down to the less obvious things like field position, penalties. That's what's going to happen here. I mean, I fully believe it. We were talking Monday night about that the Superman play way back in 2001. That was a special teams play that created that, right? A field goal punt that was mistakenly fielded inside the 5-yard line by Texas. That was what lost them the game, and that's what won us the game. In my opinion, that's what this game is going to come down to, is who makes the special teams the big explosive play or the critical mistake.
It's almost as if you and OKC Cool Ranchers are sharing a brain. Because let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys the number one thing you're watching for in OU Texas. OKC Cool Ranchers said special teams. OU has blocked 2 punts and taken one back to the house, which in this game usually leads to a win. Field position is also incredibly important. So kicking and punting game need to be terrific. Is this your burner, Ted?
No. I wish, well, I don't know. Here's the thing. We've made big plays in the like the punt block, right? But it was a mistake. We got a safety instead of a touchdown. That could be the difference in this game. We also kicked the ball out of bounds. All right. We made some plays, but we left a lot out there. And in a game where you're evenly matched, there's no margin for error. Those little mistakes can end up being the thing that gets you beat. So while we've had some really good stuff, we've also had some big missed opportunities that have been thrown in there. Go back to the Cincinnati game. You know, there's some mistakes in special teams there. We let a punt hit the ground, whatever we could. Like there was a lot of lost yardage in that game as well. We've got to tighten that stuff up.
Can't miss field goals. Can't shake punts. Can't blast punts through the end zone. Can't give up big returns. Texas is the team that needs to make those mistakes. And I'll keep saying this. If OU makes those type of mistakes, they're going to lose the football game.
Right.
So I'm with you, man. This other one comes from Local Yokel, who said, can OU get stops on their side of the 50 on 3rd and 4th down? Keeping Texas to 3 or no points will swing this game for OU. Red zone defense is going to be huge. And one thing to note, Bert Auburn, their kicker, not hitting it well coming into this one. Yeah. So if you can force field goals, especially long field goals, then you got to like your chances, man.
Yeah. And that is oddly one of the bigger question marks, I guess, with this Texas team, the offense. Once they cross like the 40-yard line, they become less and less effective. Our defense, once we get inside our own 40-yard line, we become more and more effective. That's going to be an interesting little balance there to see what statistic holds. Who holds? Does the defense for Oklahoma hold and continue to be really good as they get closer to the goal line? Or, does Texas kind of, punch through and get over some of their problems that they've had and be able to create in that area?
Yep. It's going to be fun, man. Most wonderful week of the year. All right, let's learn a little bit more about the Longhorns from Fozzy Whittaker. But first, Riverwind Casino is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience. There are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of October, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best.
Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. Just download the Love's Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Love's Connect app unlocks exclusive deals that can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Love's Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you get your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to-go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Amore.
He did it. Yes, he did it. Oh, I love you. And don't forget to celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coupe Ale Works. Named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coupe Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU Athletics events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit SchoonerAle.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day. All right, here's our man, Fozzy Whittaker. It is our pleasure to be joined by a former Texas Longhorn running back. He's a Texas great. Also spent a long time in the National Football League. Fozzy Whittaker is in the house. I forgot Longhorn Network, man. Dang it. That's my bad. Longhorn Network also. What's up, Foz?
What is going on, fellas, man? I appreciate you all having me on. How about this? This is the first time these two teams have been ranked 5-0 since 2011. Gabe, you and I were there. How about that? How crazy is that?
Remind me, how'd that one go?
We won't talk about the score, but I did score. I will say that I did score.
You did.
We won't talk about the overall score.
Now, let's start there, Foz, right? We've got, Texas coming into this one, arguably the best team in the country. OU playing much better football than they did a year ago, right? Really good football team. I mean, how cool is it that this game feels, I don't know, as big as it does? It feels big like it should, right?
Yeah, I'm reminded of the 2008 season. Obviously, both teams were undefeated. Both teams were ranked in the top 5 back in 2008. But it was like a for sure showcase of whoever won that game was most likely going to go play and compete for a national championship. And obviously, Texas won but didn't play for the national championship. Oklahoma went on and played for the national championship against that Florida team. But both of those teams were truly special in and of themselves and had truly special seasons. I think this game has the culmination and the makings of that type of atmosphere and environment around the fairgrounds. Obviously, both of these teams being ranked in the top 12, both undefeated, have great teams, right? The defense is playing lights out for both of the teams. Offense is playing lights out. Both quarterbacks look really good. It'll be a nice duel to see both of them go head to head for the first time and healthy, because that was the issue last year. But ultimately, it has the makings of whichever team comes out on top of this game most likely goes on to win the Big 12 and compete in the CFP and possibly compete and play for a national championship.
What's been the difference, just big picture under Sark? I mean, you guys have always recruited well. The roster's always had a bunch of really talented guys. What's different under Sarkisian that's got this thing to really, it feels like, all come together at the right time?
I think ultimately it stems down to what he's done in the trenches. And I know both of you guys can appreciate this, but Sarkisian and the development and the recruiting talent that he's brought in at the offensive line position has been an unbelievable transformation. This is year number 3 for Steve Sarkisian, and I don't know if I could have predicted the success at the offensive line position that he's had. And some of the guys that he inherited, he's made into much better offensive linemen. I'm talking about Christian Jones in particular. Kyle Flood has done a phenomenal job being able to develop him. He was a left tackle, struggled at being a left tackle, moved him to right tackle, had a phenomenal season last year, and this year is picking up right where he left off. Brought in 5-star DJ Campbell, brought in 5-star, high 4-star Kelvin Banks Jr., who was a freshman All-American a season ago. Cole Hudson, another young guy that came in, played a lot. Hayden Connor was another younger guy that hadn't had much reps prior to Sarkisian implementing him into that starting role. And man, you have a formidable 5-6 offensive linemen that can go into rotation and absolutely compete against some of the best D lines across the country. And where that really hit home for me was in the first 2 weeks of the season. And it was kind of weird because Rice was able to get pressure and force 3 sacks against that Texas offensive lineman. I don't know if it was the jitters or whatever it was, but it was the same starting 5 from a season ago. And Rice did some things defensively from a schematic standpoint that they hadn't necessarily showed on film. You got 7-8 months to prepare for your season opener. So they did a few different things that put that Texas O-line on their heels. But then you come back the very next week playing Tuscaloosa, don't have a procedural penalty with the 100,000 fans. So no false starts, none of those pre-snap penalties, and then did not give up 1 sack to that vaunted defensive line at Alabama. And I think that was truly the turning point of where the development of why this team looks different underneath Sark is, because he's been able to put an investment in the offensive line that Texas has not seen since the 2005, 2004 Rose Bowl and national championship Texas team that put multiple offensive linemen into the NFL draft. I mean, Since that time, Texas has had Sam Cosmi and Connor Williams as Texas O-linemen that have been drafted and drafted fairly highly, as both of those guys win the second round. Since then, it's been a drought. And so that's where Texas is starting to flip the script, and Steve Sarkisian has been at the forefront with the level of talent and the size of the human beings that he's been able to recruit up front in the O-line.
Big humans. It's always good to have big humans. I say it all the time, Foz. Now, looking at this offense for the Longhorns, how much improvement have you seen from Quinn Ewers? What's really stood out about him this season to you?
Yeah, Quinn has been really special this year. One thing that obviously stands out, if you're just looking at the superficial statistics, he hasn't thrown interceptions, right? He threw his first one against Kansas right at the end of the second quarter, trying to push it, get points going into halftime. That was his first pick. He's thrown 9 touchdowns to that 1 interception, but all 4 games prior to Kansas this past weekend, he's been clean as far as taking care of the football, creating opportunities for his receivers to make plays, and then understanding, hey, if the receiver's not open and if my check down's not there, I'm going to go ahead and tuck it, and I'm going to run and go get me some yardage or possibly score a touchdown. And he has 4 rushing touchdowns on the season to date as of now. Puts him on pace. I know, weird stat, don't even actually take anything of this, but puts him on pace right now to have more rushing touchdowns in a season than Vince Young did back in 2005, right? That's crazy, right? He's no Vince Young.
That is crazy to think about. It's like,
Right.
Ewers, Vince Young, but
right.
dude, I'll give him credit.
Yes.
The one against Kansas, right? Early.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't look slow.
You can't just play man coverage and turn your back to him and not even think about it.
Absolutely. The craziest thing is, and once you all go back, after I say this, you all look at it and laugh. The craziest thing is almost every rushing touchdown that he's had, he tries to kick it into like an extra gear and like almost has a mini stumble and like, he catches his balance and like finishes the run. He did it against Baylor, where he breaks off the 29-yarder, but like stumbles halfway before he like gets into the end zone. He did it against Kansas, trying to run the bootleg, and like the defensive lineman is trying to chase after him. His very first rushing touchdown off the zone read, beginning of the season against Rice, he like stumbles going into the end zone. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with the stumble thing that he has going on, but it's worked for him, obviously, and it's kept this offense on track as far as staying ahead of the sticks and obviously putting up points. But along with him utilizing his legs, the leadership capabilities that he's been able to become, that vocal leader as well as that passionate leader, and the one that's showcasing himself on the field, he's playing with a lot more confidence and a lot more freedom, and it's starting to show in his game. Last year, this was a guy that was still learning plays on the go. This was a guy that was still getting nervous as his first time being a true starter, and this was a guy that was getting confused by a lot of what the defense was giving him, especially on pre-snap plays or if they were disguising coverages. He was lost. The game was moving too fast for him. This year, I see him more comfortable and confident in the pocket. I see him taking the strides in the offseason to become that vocal leader. You don't have Roschon Johnson being there to talk everybody up. You don't have Bijan Robinson to be able to rely on whenever it's 3rd and 7. Okay, let me just get it to him. He'll find a way to go get 8 yards. You don't have that anymore. So now Quinn has had to be thrust into that role, and he's accepted it. He's changed his body type. He's cut off his beard. He's cut off his mullet. He's cut out Chick-fil-A. I don't know how you can do that. Chick-fil-A? You cut out Chick-fil-A? That's a man that's possessed right now, and he's playing like it. But it's obviously equated to him being a different person, feeling more confident about himself, and that's been able to show, and the development that he's been able to create in the chemistry with his receivers week in and week out so far.
Yeah, it's a great receiving core. Really, all the skill guys. Whenever you put everyone together, it's a really talented group. Ja'Tavion Sanders, maybe the most difficult matchup of everyone. What's the update you think on him? Do you think he's going to try and go? How bad was that ankle? And like, what is it about him in that offense that they've been able to really create some mismatches and get him the ball and take advantage of some people?
Yeah, Ja'Tavion Sanders is an unbelievable athlete. How about, I got another nugget for you all. Ja'Tavion Sanders has had 2 100-yard games. Can you all name the last tight end to have 2 100-yard games in a Big 12 season?
Mark Andrews?
There he is.
Mark Andrews, wow.
Mark Andrews. So Jatavian Sanders is putting up Mark Andrews type numbers with what he's been able to do. Now, at the same time, Jatavian Sanders, you talked about it, the injury that he had, the ankle sprain, the high ankle sprain. Sark talked about it on Monday. He's listed as day-to-day. He's going to have a better update of where Jatavian Sanders is on tomorrow. So hopefully in his press conference, we get a little bit more insight, because obviously that makes a huge difference on what Oklahoma does in order to prepare for what type of offense they expect to see. Jatavian Sanders is a mismatch nightmare, right? Do you put a safety on him? I don't know. Some safeties can't run as fast as he can. Do you put a corner on him? Corners usually aren't big enough to be able to defend him. Do you put a linebacker on him? Now, Jatavian Sanders will run circles around most linebackers in the college landscape right now. So it really makes it hard to be able to defend a guy like him, at least from a one-on-one perspective. And then if you try to bracket him, well, you still got guys like Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell on the outside that can make you pay, especially on one-on-one deep ball shots. So it makes it a tough matchup. But if he's not there, and if he's not healthy enough to go, which in my mind, I think if there was one game he'd be able to try to play, it'd be this one for sure. Wrap it up, get whatever pills you got to take, whatever shots you got to get, right? You got to be able to be as effective as possible, because you bring something different to the table that not everybody else on the roster can do. Gunnar Helm, and no offense to Gunnar Helm, he's not Jatavian Sanders. He doesn't provide the same mismatches that Jatavian Sanders brings to the table. And so if you have a healthy Jatavian Sanders, or at least 80% Jatavian Sanders, that still provides that idea that, okay, this guy, if you forget about him, he'll still make you pay in a big way. So we'll see what that update is from Coach Sark on tomorrow, if that'll be something that will allow him to be able to play through and fight through. But at the same time, man, his value and his presence is one that is felt and obviously utilized in a big way, as he's had 2 100-yard games so far this season, and Quinn Ewers' kind of security blanket whenever he needs to find that go-to guy on third down.
If he plays, that dude is a mutant, because that clip of him getting rolled up, oh my gosh.
It's amazing that the only thing that came out of that, at least what we were told, was it was an ankle sprain. And I was like, wait a minute, a dude just came out with a hurt ankle? Like his knee was not like mutilated?
Hey, not all athletes are created equal, Foz. That guy's a special athlete. Now, kind of wrapping up the offense for the Longhorns, the running back situation. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I know you're watching that position closely all the time for Texas. Jonathan Brooks, he's emerged as the guy. Like, what have you seen from that group as a whole?
You know, it's been interesting because Jonathan Brooks has taken the reins and really run away with it in his performances over the past couple of weeks. But the mindset that Jonathan Brooks had to have, right? Whenever you come into the season, you're already thinking, okay, no Bijan, he's playing for the Falcons. No Roshan, he's playing for the Bears. I've been behind these guys for 2 seasons. Like, in any time that they were out of the game a season ago, I usually came in, I did well, also produced at a high level whenever I had my opportunities. You look at it, you're like, okay, I'm probably going to be the starter coming into the season. And lo and behold, Rice comes around week number 1, and CJ Baxter is the one that gets the start, who's the 5-star, highly talented running back out of Florida. Don't get me wrong, CJ Baxter is a really good back. But Jonathan Brooks probably felt slighted in some sort of way that he wasn't the guy off rip because of what he had been able to show the past 2 seasons. And then having just that older kind of mindset about being the most senior running back within the room with the opportunity to be an every down back, right? Keelan Robinson's the oldest, but Jonathan Brooks probably is viewed as the every down back if you think about how Steve Sarkisian likes to run his offense. So I bet he felt a little bit slighted from the way that he was, I guess, treated or utilized within that first week in preparation against Rice. And then obviously CJ Baxter goes down. Jonathan Brooks steps in against Rice, and then plays against Alabama, and boom, he's off to the races. Wyoming, Baylor, Kansas, this dude put 100 yards, and then 200 yards, stacking them back to back to back. And man, he's on pace to have one of the Deontay Foreman type seasons. Deontay Foreman, his last year, he rushed for, I want to say through 4 games, he had rushed for almost 600 yards and ended up finishing over 2,000 yards over the course of that 2018 season. Jonathan Brooks's pace is right on par with what Deontay Foreman was doing, and a slightly average higher than what Bijan did a year ago, which is insane to say that, because nobody had the expectations for a guy like Jonathan Brooks to be able to produce on this level. That was going to be the big question mark of who's going to replace that type of production and talent that they had at the running back position. And I think Jonathan Brooks has answered that in a major way. But it's not only him. C.J. Baxter's done a phenomenal job stepping in, getting some good carries as a true freshman. Jaden Blue, he's come in, showed some flashes as well. He's a lot more shifty. Savion Red, another guy that gets minimal carries but makes a major impact. I mean, Texas might not win that Wyoming game in the way that they wanted if they didn't have Savion Red in that Wildcat formation, converting on 2 4th downs late in the game to be able to extend the drive. So you got guys like that. And then Keelan Robinson, like I mentioned, he's the all everything. He comes in, he pass bros, he's out in the receivers, he's returning kicks, he's blocking kicks, he's on every special teams. He's kind of the new age Roschon Johnson of what Roschon did a season ago. Just maybe not as big, but is definitely faster. So the utilization of all the running backs in general, man, they've been utilized very well. Spearheaded by the performances that Jonathan Brooks has been able to put together week after week on a consistent basis.
How about defensively? What stood out to you so far this season for Texas, and what do you think perhaps the game plan is going to be to slow down Dillon Gabriel?
You know, the biggest thing that stood out to me was, how was this defensive line going to be? You lose 2 fifth-year seniors that was all everything with them. Snacks, Keandre Colburn, as well as Moro Ojimo. They're both playing in the NFL right now, but they were a major part of the success that Texas had faced a season ago. And number one, stopping the run and also getting after the passer. Tavondre Sweat has been there for some years. Byron Murphy's been there for a couple of years as well, but they hadn't necessarily proven that they can be kind of your every down or every first, second down type of rotational players from a first quarter through 4th quarter consistent basis. And I think they've had a really big impact on why Texas's defense looks the way that it looks right now, along with Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins coming on very strong. That D line has picked up where they left off, even though they've lost a lot of talent a season ago. They've picked up where they left off and been able to provide a really good boost to where this Texas front can be. And then you implement some newer faces into there. Ethan Burke, first year starting as that weak side DN, has created a couple sacks and some TFLs and probably wasn't expected. He doesn't look the most athletically gifted, but whenever he steps on the field, he produces as if he has his hair on fire. You look at Anthony Hill Jr., another young guy, true freshman from the Den Ryan, that's been able to make plays week in and week out and playing in kind of the most valuable moments of a game. I mean, he's in there whenever Texas is deadlocked with Alabama in week number 2 as a true freshman making plays, and he gets a critical sack against Jalen Milroe that helped seal the deal for that game. But he's in there whenever the game is on the line, and that goes to show you the type of trust that Sark and the defensive coordinator, Pete Kwiatkowski, has in a guy like him, and utilizing what those two do well, along with a combination, a mixture of a lot of guys rolling in, creating depth on the defensive side of the ball. This defense has been pleasantly surprising in creating takeaways and being able to apply pressure on the quarterback. With that being said, Dillon Gabriel provides a completely different monster than this Texas defense has seen, right? They saw a running threat with Jalen Milroe. They saw a little bit of a running threat in Jason Bean as well. But Dylan Gabriel, whenever he escapes out of the pocket, he's not necessarily looking to run unless he has to. He keeps his eyes downfield and creates for an opportunity to be able to get Drake Stoops or Jalil Farouk or Nick Anderson back at the end zone for a touchdown. And that's something that Texas hasn't necessarily seen, a veteran-style quarterback that can do it all. Dylan Gabriel has been playing, in my opinion, at the top of his game, right? He leads the conference in almost every statistical category, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, also added in some rushing touchdowns as well. He's been really confident. A bad game, in my opinion, for Dylan Gabriel is having 8 incompletions, right? If he has 8 incompletions, everybody's like, man, what's going on, right? We need to see Jackson Arnold. But that just goes to show you the testament of him being able to be in combination and lockstep with what Coach Lebby wants to be able to call. That tempo, that's a real thing, right? Texas hasn't faced an offense that runs the tempo style offense in the way that Oklahoma does. And it's been a staple at Oklahoma, right? You get up on them real quick, and then 5 seconds later, you're back on the ball running another play, and trying to find the subs on the defensive side of the ball creates mismatch opportunities. It also creates penalties, and it's really tough to defend, and you can't really simulate that in practice because nobody really goes that fast. The only 2 teams typically that play like that is Oregon and Oklahoma, or at least who have success playing like that is Oregon and Oklahoma. And so you don't see it regularly, and that's something that this Texas defense have to prepare for. But you have to always keep a spy on Dylan Gabriel because, like I said, he will hurt you with his legs. And then at the same time, you got to make him uncomfortable in the pocket. And that's something that Sark talks about is having fanatical effort. If he turns on the tape, and for the defensive side in particular, if somebody isn't giving great effort, they talk about it after every single game. He said that's the first thing they do in team meeting is turn on the tape and they point out guys that gave fanatical effort and guys that didn't before they even talk about the X's and O's. So that's something that you're going to have whenever you're playing against a guy that can create and make plays and scramble in the pocket the way that Dylan Gabriel does. You got to have integrity in the rush lanes to be able to try to collapse the pocket on top of them. But at the end of the day, I expect Dylan Gabriel to get his. And honestly, it's going to come down to the team that commits the least amount of turnovers, who makes the least amount of mistakes. And right now, both of these defenses are really good at taking the ball away, with Oklahoma, I believe, having 10 interceptions, which leads the league. In Texas, I want to say it's at 7 interceptions, which is at top 3 in the league and takeaways. So these 2 teams on the defensive side know how to turn the ball over and force those turnovers. Which one is going to be the one that can do it on a consistent basis, or whenever the game is on the line, that's the one that will probably come out on top.
All right, Foz. How do you see this one going, man?
You know, it's very tricky. And I know, Gabe, you and I talked about this the other day, too. It was like back in 2009, we saw high-powered offenses between both of them. Probably expectations was the game was going to be similar to what it was in 2008, where it was a 45-35 shootout going back and forth between the 2 teams. And it was a 16-13 game. It was like, wait a minute, we got 2 top 5 offenses in the country and only 29 points were scored between the 2. Like, how is that even a thing? I don't expect that to be the case this time. Both defenses are playing lights out. But I think each offense provides something unique and peculiar about themselves that makes this a high-scoring game. I believe Texas, if I put a score on it, probably will win 38-34. I think it's one of those close matchups. Before last year, the previous 8 Red River Rivalry games were decided by 8 points or less. And last year was an anomaly. We know Dylan Gabriel not being able to play, we kind of throw that out from a standpoint of what this game actually means and has been in the history of the rivalry between these 2 teams. But before that, 8 years straight, it was decided by 8 points or less. So I think it gets more back in alignment with that close style game. And my score at the moment probably is a 38-34 victory for Texas in this one.
Well, I hope you're wrong. Foz, hey man, it's always fun catching up. It's the most wonderful week of the year, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, fellas. I appreciate y'all having me on, man. Enjoy yourselves in Dallas as well.
Oh, you know we will. Fozzy thinks it's going to be a close game, and so do I. So that's kind of where I'm at with it as well. I hope he's wrong about who wins.
Yeah, a lot of good info there. I agree. I think it's going to be incredibly close. You never know what you're going to get in this game, but for whatever reason, this one, it's a nervous one. There's a lot of tension. I I think Texas fans probably feel good about it, but not great. I think Oklahoma fans probably feel good about it, but not great. We'll see what happens. It's going to be crazy.
No doubt. All right, let's get to our previews for some of the other great games here in week 6 of college football. But first,
John Vance Auto Group has a deal for Oklahoma Breakdown listeners. Go to any of their 9 full-service dealerships in Woodward, Miami, and Guthrie and tell them we sent you. They'll give you $500 off. That's $500 off just because you listen to this podcast. They've been serving Oklahomans for 40 years, family-owned and operated. No matter what your vehicle needs are, John Vance Auto Group has you covered. Carry domestic brands such as Ford, Lincoln, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Wagoneer. John Vance Auto Group's goal is to give unequaled service and to exceed customers' expectations in every way. You can find all their information about their lifetime loyalty program, browse their entire inventory, and find the John Vance dealership near you at vanceautogroup.com.
And attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offering and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
It's hunting time in Oklahoma, and if you're looking to buy hunting property, the Land Doctors can help you find the ideal ranch. They build custom hunting lodges and lakes and can turn Oklahoma's raw land into your personal playground. If you'd like to sell some land or simply just want to add to your portfolio, then give Colton Cole a call, 405-615-7645, or visit landdoctors.com.
Week 6 in college football. Let's start in College Station. Number 11, Alabama travels to take on Texas A&M. This will be the 2:30 game on CBS. Bama is currently a 2.5-point favorite, which Alabama is not favored by that few points really ever, right? But I know it's early in the season. I know there's still a lot of games to be played, and there's going to be a whole lot of talent on the field there in College Station. But Ted, to me, this one feels like an SEC West elimination game, right?
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah, I think A&M has been, since that early loss, has been cruising along. Offense looks like it's starting to get out of the mud a little bit, and they're creating some yards and some points. Now they lost their starting quarterback, but there's some signs of life right now. But the other thing is Alabama has been able to enjoy life outside of the spotlight a little bit after the loss to Texas and kind of how they responded in the next week. A lot of people have left Alabama for dead. And in my opinion, from what I've seen, it looks like they've really started to improve week by week.
I know. And I think, so when you look at what they're going to ask Jalen Milroe to do in this game, I really think it's going to be just, hey, man, take care of the ball. They're going to lean on the run game, right? They're going to let that massive O-line. That's going to be a hell of a battle. You talk about a bunch of big bodies going at it. That Bama O-line versus that A&M D-line, my goodness, that's going to be fun. But really lean on the run game. They're going to take a couple of their vertical shots, right? Because that's what Milroe does best as a passer. Like, let that thing fly down the field and see if you can connect. But I think they're going to want him to throw it like 15 times in this game. Now, that may not exactly be what you're signing up at wide receiver when you go to play wide receiver at Bama, but hey, you got to do what you got to do to win football games. And if they can get into an offensive rhythm with Milroe, then I expect Alabama to win this game. Now, on the other side of things, right, Wegman goes down, but Max Johnson looked really solid against Arkansas. He's a guy that's played a lot of ball. He's a veteran backup. But this Bama defense is a completely different animal than what he saw from the Hogs. So I like Alabama to win the game. Don't tell Texas A&M fans that's a really hard place to play. Maybe the most difficult place I ever played. But I'm expecting a really good football game between these two teams.
Yeah, I am too. This is one of those that feels like maybe it's similar maybe to OU and Texas, that the game is actually going to be won or lost kind of in the margins on like mistakes or penalties or special teams gaffes or explosives. Like outside of like your traditional offensive defense, something is going to have a big influence on the game.
Right. And that's, I think A&M has to get those breaks or they're going to get beat by a touchdown plus, because you think about that Arkansas game, pick six, had a punt return for a touchdown. So I think I'm with you, man. I think the Aggies are going to have a few of those things happen for them to walk away with the win. But I don't think it's going to happen. I'm with you. I think Bama's getting a lot better week by week. I think Milroe, they're doing a better job offensively of building the offense around his skill set and not asking him to do too much. And let's not forget, in this stuff, I know it was 2 years ago, but last time Bama went down there, they got beat.
Yeah.
And Saban is bringing that up like, hey, we owe these guys one. So ton of talent on the field. Going to be fun to watch. I expect the Crimson Tide to win, though.
Yeah. Nope. I agree. It does feel like A&M typically plays one of their best games of the year against Alabama, though, doesn't it?
No doubt.
There's something there, whether it's just they've circled it and that's the type of week of practice and effort that they get from everyone, or, Jimbo Fisher's got a good understanding and Nick Saban coached for him. So I don't know what it is, but they usually have a good game plan and get a lot out of their guys on this week.
Is this the game that Jimbo Fisher undresses Bobby Petrino? We can only hope.
Maybe. Or the other way around. Bobby Petrino may go after Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, who knows? All right, the other game I wanted to hit, number 20 Kentucky, traveling to take on number 1 Georgia. This will be 6 p.m. Central on ESPN. Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite. This is going, if you like physical football, this is the game for you. Man, that's a little surprised by that spread, right? That's a big number with the way that Kentucky just looked against Florida.
I agree. I'm just trying to figure out how bad Kentucky beats Georgia. I don't know if it's going to be by a touchdown. I don't know if it's going to be by more than that. Yeah, I feel like they've got the wrong sign in front of that 14.5 for Georgia.
Okay, let's not be ridiculous. But now, we watched Ray Davis and Kentucky run through Florida's soul last weekend. And I don't think you can't out Georgia, right? Or we just haven't seen anyone do it over the last couple of years. They had a lot of success. Georgia gave up some stuff to Auburn last week in the running game, but
yes, they did.
It was perimeter stuff. And there were a lot of explosive QB runs. So I don't think Devin Leary's that type of guy that's just going to all of a sudden become a zone read guy, taking it around the edge and ripping off 20, 30-yard runs. But, hey, you never know. This feels like it's just going to be a bar fight in between the tackles and may the tougher team win. It's going to be ugly. I can't wait.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't know. I've sensed weakness with Georgia most of the year, and it's hard to tell if it's weakness or if it's boredom, with how
they have not looked good in their 2 SEC games, right?
Right.
They didn't look great against South Carolina, and they had to scratch and claw to come away with the win at Auburn last weekend. I mean, they're number 1. They should be number 1, but they have not looked like the dominant force that we've come to know there in Athens.
Yeah. And I think Kentucky's a really good football team. And you can say what you want about Florida, and I understand that, but like that type of ass whipping against what's a pretty talented Florida team, just incredible. Now, they ain't going to do that to Georgia. Georgia's going to have way more fight than that, but I think they're going to have success running the ball. Georgia is, at least up to this point, maybe they're just sleepwalking, but this is not the same defense that we've seen from them, where it's an absolute choke you out, everything that you do. The defensive line is a group that you just cannot move, can't get through at all, can't protect. It does not look like that right now. So
Right.
I'm taking Kentucky to go get the upset.
Wow. No faith in Carson Beck?
No.
He made some big throws in that Auburn game. I got to imagine Mark Stoops is going to do everything in his power to have a plan for Brock Bowers, though. My goodness. It's weird to see a tight end take over a game like that, but that's exactly what he did last week against Auburn. The guy is just a production machine. You got to have a plan for him, right? I mean, come on. Make anyone else beat you.
Make anyone else beat you. That's their bailout on everything.
It's a good bailout.
It's an amazing bailout. We don't have a whole lot going. Just let's chuck it up to the tight end. Yeah, it's one of those things where it sucks whenever you're defending and playing against a player of that caliber, but it's also good because we know what we got to do this week to win the football game. That's have a plan for the tight end, unlike Auburn, who had no plan for the tight end, shockingly. Or maybe they did and didn't execute, but I didn't look good whenever, what do you have, 8 catches for almost 2 bills against him? It was wild.
Dude was running wide open sometimes. I was just like, how does that happen? How? I don't know. I don't know how stuff like that happens. You defensive guys, I just don't understand you sometimes. I think Georgia wins the game. I think that crowd is going to be rolling, but no chance I would lay 14.5 in that game. Just no way. I just don't see Georgia dominating Kentucky like that. But maybe this is the first time where it's like, oh, damn, Georgia looks like Georgia.
Yeah.
That could be the case here. Any other games that interest you? We've got K-State going to Stillwater on a Friday night.
That game definitely interests me. I
think K-State is going to dismantle Oklahoma State. Just going to go on the record.
Everything says that. Everything says that. And it's like it's easily the most likely scenario. They've had a little time to get what's Will Howard like right now? How's his health? Is he back?
He's good.
He's back good.
He's good. He played through the ankle in their last football game, the UCF game. They got a bye. He's been resting. I expect him to look healthy.
Well, they should absolutely steamroll Oklahoma State. Everything says that. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I've got that little feeling that Oklahoma State is just, for whatever reason, going to show up. I can't quantify it. I can't explain it. I can't tell you that there's some matchup that they're going to take advantage of. I've got none of that, other than and maybe this is like the old Gundy that I'm expecting, and the new Oklahoma State just doesn't have that gear anymore. I don't know. Everything says that Kansas State's going to steamroll them, though. Just run the football.
This is the
nonstop.
game. Alan Bowman just lights it up. I don't think so. Give me K-State in that one. Notre Dame at Louisville. What's that? Number 10 Notre Dame at number 25 Louisville. Louisville's ranked. Hey, they're 5-0, but I don't think they're going to hold up at the line of scrimmage. And sorry, Jack Plummer, I don't think you and the Louisville offense are going to be able to do much against that Notre Dame defense. That Notre Dame defense they're legit, man. They're playing at a very high level.
And you have Notre Dame may be the most battle-hardened team in all of college football at the moment, right? With
Yeah.
who they've had to play. They've had to play some really difficult opponents, and it's going to continue for them. But I feel like Notre Dame's going to get it done.
We've also got number 13 Washington State at UCLA. UCLA's a 3.5-point favorite. I mean, did Cameron Ward die or something? What am I missing here?
It must be that huge home crowd that UCLA draws that can really turn the tables in a game.
I have never. That is my only Rose Bowl experience. Right. I was still playing when OU played in the actual Rose Bowl against Georgia in that classic. I have never been more underwhelmed by a stadium in my entire life. Like the expectations I had coming in, it was an OU home game. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. It has to have gotten better as they've gotten better since then, right? But there ain't going to be 100,000 in there for that game. Not with Washington State coming to town.
The UCLA defense has looked really good, but is Dante Moore and the Bruins offense going to be able to keep pace with Cam Ward and the Cougars offense? I have my doubts. But yeah, I saw that number. I was like, what am I missing? What do the odds makers know that I don't know?
Washington State's on a mission this year, man. That's a good football team.
I like their coach, Dickert.
Yeah. Coached really well.
That man's saying some stuff with his chest in post-game press conferences, too.
He is. He is.
All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. But first, do you have difficulty sitting for long periods of time or can't lay on your side due to pain? Well, it's a hip thing, and the only person to go see is Dr. Brandon Johnson at the Hip Clinic in Oklahoma City. No matter your age, the Hip Clinic has the experience and knowledge to help ease your hip pain and preserve your hip joint. Don't let the pain hold you back any longer. Don't just accept a hip replacement. Call the Hip Clinic today at 844-KEEP-HIP or visit thehipclinicokc.com.
Head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter, toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
And Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, Bishop McGinnis offers a college prep curriculum that includes 22 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Remember, financial aid is available. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Achilles tendon ruptures across the country because I don't know what the new surgery is. I don't know what has happened, but explain this to me, Gabe. A surgery that typically takes a year or more, and not very long ago, it was like a career ender. You're done. Achilles tendon rupture. Aaron Rodgers plans to play this season. Can you explain to me what's happening?
I cannot.
Did they just install a steel cable to replace his Achilles tendon on the back of his leg?
I don't know. Did you see the video of him walking around with the crutches? Like, it didn't look like he even needed the crutches. And that only happened a couple weeks ago, man. That's not normal. Where did he go? What German medical technology is he using?
Mars. Maybe he went to, I don't know where he went. He must have like an IV drip of stem cells going directly into his Achilles area. I don't know, because am I the only one? This isn't a 23-year-old kid.
No, he's 39.
A 40-year-old.
Oh, is he 40 now? He's 40.
Well, I mean,
whatever he is, he's old. He's up there for NFL years. He's ancient.
Yeah. Everyone else is like, well, he plans to be back. It depend. We'll see what the Jets are, what position they're in, and if they need. I'm like, well, hang on a second. You're burying the lead here. We watched his Achilles tendon not stretch, pop, and rupture on television, and the man's plans to play in the same season. That's, to me, that's incredible. And I don't know what they're doing, but it really is a sign of how good some of the surgeries and things have gotten in the orthopedics in sports. That's crazy to think about.
Are you sure it's not just the ayahuasca?
No.
The vibes?
Vibes, psychedelics. I'm open to anything. I don't know what's going on.
Listen, I'm pretty much already bone on bone in my right shoulder. Aaron, let me know, man. Let me know what you're doing. I know tendons, like joints. I know it's different, but I want to know. Let me know. I'm interested. Dude. If he comes back and plays, I have a few thoughts of it. It's like every guy ever is going to be asking what he did, and that's going to become the new thing in medicine, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we all just need to center ourselves like Aaron Rodgers has, or whatever. But if he comes back and plays after tearing his Achilles, it really changes everything, in my opinion. Everything.
Let's see how mushrooms are trading right now in the commodities market. Maybe whenever he comes back, there's going to be a big spike in the psychedelic industry. I don't know what's going on, but I thought it was just crazy that he's saying that, and everyone's not like, what? No way, it's possible. That's incredible. And I'm here for it. I'd like to see it. I really would.
I would like to watch Aaron Rodgers play football this season, no doubt. But
I don't want to watch him tear his Achilles tendon again, though.
I don't want to watch that again. And I'll say this: it's very similar. I'm kind of getting Adrian Peterson coming back from the ACL vibes from this whole thing.
Yeah.
Every other guy that tears his Achilles, everyone from now on, if Rodgers comes back and plays, they're gonna be like, dude, you'll be back in 3 months. It's no big deal. You got it, man. Like, what?
That's crazy.
All right, who do you have as your loser of the week?
I didn't know who to like really specifically classify this one as, but maybe it's the Big Ten, maybe it's college football. I don't know. Urban Meyer to Michigan State. What do you think about that?
Is that real? Like, it was one of those things. It was one of those tweets where you see it and then you go straight to Google and you're like, okay, Urban Meyer, Michigan State. And some things did pop up.
Yeah. I don't know, but he can win football games. Right? He can. What can he do in this? Like, it hasn't been that long since he left, but since he left, everything has changed. The Big Ten is like totally different. The transfer portal, the NIL stuff, it's a new world. And I would say that his credibility has taken quite a hit, as he jumped to the NFL, but I still think in college he can get it done. But that's like a fascinating hire with all of the stuff that's happened at Michigan State recently, right? I mean, it's strange.
Yeah. So the latest update I saw was from Bruce Feldman from The Athletic, who said that there is zero truth to it. And remember, Feldman works with him on Big Noon Kickoff. So he asked, and here's the quote, about the reports linking Urban Meyer to the Michigan State head coaching job. I just checked with him. He said there is zero truth to it with him being a candidate for it. He has no interest in that, and he is happy with what he's doing now at Fox Sports. Which, do we believe Urban Meyer?
No, absolutely not.
I don't care what he says, but we know Michigan State's willing to throw 10 mil at him. Right? I mean, they gave Mel Tucker $9.5 a year. Hell, they may throw 12 at him. And Urban Meyer, I think he would crush it at Michigan State.
I do too. And he definitely wants to get back in.
there's the whole thing with his health and his family, and I don't know. He's probably making a boatload at Fox, but he does seem like the type of guy is like, hey, people have forgotten how good I was. Let me get back in and remind everyone one more time or something. But dude, you're making that much money. Do you really want to go to Michigan State? Like he could go somewhere better than that. No offense to East Lansing. It's a great place, but I mean, how many people would fire their coach for Urban Meyer? He could wait a couple months and go to A&M.
I don't think he'd want to go to A&M. Maybe he would. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I think I would say that if he comes back, it would be a place like Michigan State. That I could be wrong. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass here, but I don't think it's outlandish to consider Urban Meyer at Michigan State. I really don't.
No, I think it would work. I think Michigan and Ohio State would be pretty pissed, especially Ohio State. They'd be like, really, man? I mean, really?
That's kind of part of it, for me. That's part of why I think I could see him doing that is he wants to get back in the mix there, and especially the way things went in the NFL and try and
that's a good point.
The way he's remembered. Yeah.
That's a good point. Like that's definitely not the way you wanted to go out. It was a disaster in Jacksonville. So yeah. Makes you think. All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
elevate your tailgate with Chapel Supply and Equipment in Oklahoma City. Chapel Supply and Equipment has generators and inverters on hand that'll give you all the power you need so you could take your tailgate to the next level. They've also got top-of-the-line heaters to keep you warm during those cold tailgates later in the season. They're Oklahoma-owned and operated. Elevate your tailgate by calling 405-495-1722 or visit chapelsupply.com. That's CHAPPELL supply.com.
And First Fidelity Bank knows how to keep fans like you happy. With more than 50 awards in the last 5 years, including Forbes Best in State Bank, the Oklahomans Community Choice Awards, and the Journal Records Reader Rankings, it's clear that they are Oklahoma's #1 pick for quality banking. And you can find that level of outstanding service in everything FFB offers. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. First Fidelity Bank. We go where you go.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
All right, for my winner of the week, thought about going with Jimmy Butler. That was hilarious. I mean, the hair, the piercings that he rocked at Heat Media Day. If you haven't seen it, go find it. Emo Jimmy Butler. I saw so many things. It was like the #1 one was like Ball Out Boy, which was just fantastic.
Oh, that is funny. He does look like what was that dude's name? I think it was the bass guitars.
He does something like this every year for Media Day for his headshot. It's amazing. He's fantastic. He goes, so I'm emo. It was it's so good, man. That's great. Like it's all about entertainment, and I feel like Jimmy Butler gets that.
Right. That was funny.
Yes.
Give it up. Hands
fantastic.
Down.
But my winner of the week, Ted, it is October. So what's that mean for me? I start watching baseball.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I start watching baseball. The Minnesota Twins. The streak is over. They won a Major League playoff baseball game for the first time in 19 years. They had lost 18 straight playoff games. It was the longest losing streak in men's professional sports in North America when it comes to the playoffs. They beat the Blue Jays 3-1 in Game 1 of their AL Wildcard Series, and main reasons they won: Pablo Lopez's performance on the mound and Royce Lewis jacking 2 home runs. And I watched it all. It was great. I was reading up on Lewis. That guy's had a tough break, man. A few years back, he was the #1 pick of the draft. been banged up a ton, tore his ACL back-to-back years.
Oh,
I mean, so it was really cool to see him, and he's been banged up this season. Right, just came off a hammy injury, and for him to just be crushing homers, that had to feel great. It's awesome. Also, the Blue Jays blue jerseys are so sweet. Can't believe they lost in those.
that's crazy that he tore his ACL twice in baseball.
It's not good.
Like, that is not a common injury in baseball, right?
No.
I mean, that's wild.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he bounced
hey,
back. It's also weird to lose 18 straight playoff games. That is crazy.
I agree with that. It's quite odd to be able to pull that off. And happy for those players. Really happy for those fans. Like, that had to feel so good.
It did. Finish the job.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. A lot of baseball to be played, but I'm dialed in, man. I'm dialed in here. Baseball casual, just arriving to the party once the playoffs arrive. That's how I roll, baby. All right, for my loser of the week, I thought about going with NFL fans in New York, and I guess New Jersey as well. How about this stat, Ted? There are 2 teams that have not run an offensive play with a lead this season in the National Football League. The first team, the New York Giants. The second team, the New York Jets. Neither team has run an offensive play with a lead through 4 weeks in the season. Giants are 1-3. Remember, beat the Cardinals with a field goal with like 19 seconds to go in that game in week 2. And then the Jets are 1-3. They won in overtime in the opener against the Bills on the punt return. Neither team at offensive snap with a lead. That's crazy.
It's crazy, and they've both won a football game. That's wild. That's crazy.
At least Zach Wilson played pretty well.
He played great.
He looked great.
Yeah.
He's the best quarterback in the
nice
game.
Throws. Yeah. Made some really nice throws, but I feel bad for him.
I've got faith in Mahomes to figure it out. I think that guy's going to be just fine.
Yeah. They'll be fine.
Yeah, and we if we just say Taylor Swift, will we get more downloads? Taylor Swift. Swifties, Travis Kelce. We'll see if the algorithm helps us out with what we just did there. But my loser of the week, Iowa. Ouch.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Kurt Ferentz comes out, says that Cade McNamara is done for the year, torn ACL. I feel horrible for that young man. He went to Iowa to go show what he could do, right? He just been kind of stuck behind J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. Had been playing hurt all year long with the quad coming out of training camp. Hadn't looked right, but to tear the knee up in what was that? I think that was the first quarter of the Michigan State game.
Yeah, it was.
That's brutal, man. I feel for him.
Yeah, and it's tough for him. Obviously, you hate that. Maybe it's early enough to still get a medical. I don't know how that's going to go. But the more interesting thing is, like, where does Iowa go now? It's already an offense that has been struggling, and everyone knows that. Are they going to find someone that maybe brings in a spark, or is it just going to be more of the same or even worse for Iowa's offense?
Well, let me introduce you to Deacon Hill, Ted. 11-27 for 115, a touchdown and an interception in the win against Michigan State.
It's pretty good numbers for Iowa.
McNamara going down, not going to help the drive to averaging 25 for Brian Ferentz. They are
26 they put up's not going to really counter that 0 from last week.
No, they are currently 131st out of 133 in total offense. They also, I think, bottom 5 in passing offense. They're averaging 133 passing yards a game. It's borderline unbelievable, dude, especially with how good their defense is.
I know, and it's not like they haven't had players come through on that offense either. You know, they've had really good offensive linemen. They've always had good tight ends. It's crazy.
They got a bunch of guys banged up. This is something when I saw this, I started thinking, because remember, the Big Ten's still divisions this season. Who the hell is coming out of the Big Ten West?
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin? Minnesota? Are any of these teams any good?
No.
Can we come to some type of compromise where Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State all just show up and they play some type of round robin game as the Big Ten championship game, and whoever wins the most situation is Big Ten champs? Can we do something creative like that? I have zero interest in seeing any of those teams play for a conference title.
Like the high school preseason scrimmage format?
Yes, exactly like that. Like each team gets a half against the other.
Yeah, that would be great.
Aggregate score wins.
That would actually be incredible. But unfortunately, we're going to have to watch a really good team absolutely destroy a very average team in the Big Ten championship.
Only for this year, though.
Only for this year.
Okay. You ready? We have a record number of birthday shout outs. And hey, there was a person that left us a 3-star review because we forgot their birthday shout out. So apparently people really care about these. And hopefully we right that wrong here. Here we go. Happy 4th birthday to Maverick Conness.
Happy 5th birthday to Asher Clopton.
Happy 5th birthday to Riker Ross.
Happy 6th birthday to JoJo Forrest.
Happy 7th birthday to Rory Rittenauer.
Happy 7th birthday to Conrad Newman.
Happy 7th birthday to Lynn Newman.
Happy 8th birthday to Rylan Kinter.
Happy 12th birthday to Maxwell Freeman.
Happy 13th birthday to Bo Brunk.
Happy 13th birthday to Christian Coulter.
Happy 18th birthday to Callum Blackburn.
Happy 23rd birthday to Kate Hilliard.
Happy 23rd birthday to Maddie Ice McCabe.
Happy 25th birthday to Jake Small.
Happy 30th birthday to Taylor D-Train Otterbein.
Happy 31st birthday to Dylan Calvert.
Happy 33rd birthday to Michael Hutzel.
Happy 35th birthday to Tyler Steele.
Happy 40th birthday to Justin Calvert.
Happy 53rd birthday to Heart Mama Corlett. Heart Mama Corlett. I'm sorry, Heart Mama.
Happy 55th birthday to Susanna Lambrugo.
What a name. Happy 67th birthday to Coach Janelle.
Happy 68th birthday to Sooner Mima.
We did it. Wow. On that note, episode 359 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 3 to 6 on the ref. You can hear me from 2 to 5 on Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have a fantastic weekend. Be safe going down to Dallas. Enjoy OU, Texas. It's going to be amazing, people. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.